Hello everyone, welcome to Miss Stories. Today on the channel, we will look at the story of how abandoned bride takes a job as a house sitter for a paralyzed millionaire. But on her first night, she gets a surprise. Having worked in a bridal salon for many years, Alina met different clients, but it was the first time that they behaved so impudently, and even with complaints. She was about to insert her 5 cents and put down the fastidious girl, but then the director appeared. Honey, well, stop being capricious, pick something, because time is running out. We still have to go home, because parents are waiting for us there. Now it was clear why the young client felt so at ease. It turned out that she was the director's fiancée, and he, to somehow please her, looking menacingly, Alina commanded, "And why are you standing, batting your eyes? Help her button her dress." As parting, when he left the salon, added, "But now his bride, Ika, be sensible, I'll wait for you at home." She looked at him surprised and asked demandingly, "And what am I going to, Zhenya?" With a raised eyebrow, the man immediately dialed a number, said a few phrases, and then muttered through his teeth, "Well, that's it. A car with a personal driver is coming for you." Victoria folded her arms across her chest and smilingly parried, "I love you so much, honey. This is going to be the most stunning wedding ever." After that, she looked at the girl and sarcastically summed up, "Go and find me a fancy dress. Otherwise, really just chill and do nothing." Alina was offended, but she put up with it, realizing that this was just the whims of a flighty girl and should immediately calm down when she gets her dress and rushes to meet his happiness. For another hour and a half, they tried to find any worthwhile option, but Victoria rejected them time after time, finding more and more flaws and defects. No, it was not that the dress was faulty, just that the bride was not happy with the style. In the end, when Alina brought a box with a gorgeous custom-made dress, Victoria blushed. So much time wasted, and this beautiful dress is specially hidden from my eyes. Trying on the outfit, Vika twirled in front of the mirror. "I'll go like this, let everyone envy me." Alina shrugged and took away the empty box. When she returned, she caught the bride at the door. "About the payment, all questions to Evgeny Evgenyevich. All bye-bye, I'm gone." Waving after her, Alina abruptly exhaled, "God, how capricious people can be. Here I am, for example, when I got married and did not bear everyone's brains and went to the registration in what fits in size." Yes, and if you remember the wedding of his parents, at that time about the wedding salons could only dream. In addition, all the celebrations were more modest and at home in the circle of the closest people. Of course, someone could afford to pompous parties and sit in a restaurant, but mostly gathered at a communal table in the house of the bride or groom. And just as she uttered it, as behind her familiar voice was heard, "Here I was leaving her for a couple of days, as Alinochka apparently got married again. Hello, lost soul?" It was her best friend Regina. "Oh, hi, honey. What are you doing sneaking around so quietly? It's like you wanted to catch me here with someone." Nodding her head, her friend laughingly replied, "Well, of course, I have nothing better to do than follow you. I was passing by and thought I'd drop by, especially since it's my day off." Pointing to the couch, Alina sat down next to her. "You're lucky. And today I had such a client that my mother was not happy about it. And it's good that her fiancé was my director, or I would have said a few nice words to her." In response, Regina waved her hand and laughed. "Say too, the client would have put her in her place. You remember yourself, how you spent the whole day looking for a dress. I haven't forgotten what happened back then, and your Dima probably still remembers the whole mess with trepidation." Alina even grimaced as they began to bring up the past. "Oh, come on, he's the one who's going to shut her. Please, Regina, my Demachka is a rock. But we haven't been able to have kids yet, and that's a real problem." Then their conversation turned into a discussion of issues unrelated to their personal lives. In the meantime, the car with Victoria pulled up to the house. Satisfied that she had gotten the most gorgeous dress, as she thought, she almost fell off her feet when she saw a gift basket at the entrance. And at the same moment on the porch, her fiancé Eugene came out. "Oh, how? And we did not even notice that someone had started to present gifts. Let's open it, honey, and see what's inside." Victoria got a little nervous. "Maybe we shouldn't. I don't feel comfortable with such mysterious gifts." Just as she finished, a strange sound came from the basket. At first glance, it sounded like a puppy. Well, someone decided to give us a doggy. Putting all misgivings aside, Vika opened the lid herself and recoiled in horror. "My God, there's a baby in there, a real baby." There was a note next to it, and Evgeny took it in his hands, unfolded it, and read, "Jenya's daughter, let her be happy." And that began. Victoria, with a shout, tried to grab her fiancé by the collar of his shirt, but missed and almost fell down on a flower bed. Luckily, Evgeny's father, who was his namesake, was beside her, and at the last moment, he managed to put his hands forward. "What's going on here? You're not married yet, and you're already having an argument." In response, the girl snarled angrily, "You do what you want, but I'm not going to participate in this shindig. And yes, the registration is cancelled. Thank your son." Then she turned around and walked toward the cab stand. Victoria didn't wait for her fiancé to start explaining himself. Getting into one of the cars, the girl waved through the window and made a snide grimace. Eugene, on the other hand, bent down and took out a baby girl, who looked at him with small eyes. She looked no more than a week, but it was the first impression, and it was difficult to define her exact age so directly. The groom's mother joined them. She saw a note in his hands, and when she read it, the next second, she looked first at her son and then at her husband. Realizing what might follow, the groom hurriedly explained, "It's not my baby, Mom, I'm pretty sure." After this answer, all attention shifted to the father of the groom, because his name was also Evgeny. "Well, what do you say to me? Come on, admit it. You had an affair on the side and you don't even know who the child is from." While the parents were arguing and trying to figure something out, their son called the police. The police drew up a report, and then they reported it to child welfare, who took the child to the hospital. The problem was solved for a while. That is what Evgeny Jr. thought. But it turned out that all the difficulties were still ahead. And first of all, the clarification of relations with Victoria. After all, she did not even let him say anything and immediately ran away. Calling her on the phone, Evgeny Eugenie expected to hear a calm and confident voice, but instead he was bombarded with a hail of accusations of infidelity. Victoria didn't want to believe that her fiancé had nothing to do with it. Having stopped the bickering with her, Eugenie went back into the house, and there was already a full-scale showdown between his parents. They had not calmed down and continued to argue in high tones. Eugene tried to calm them down, but my mother finished her tirade in the following way: "I think I should leave too. It disgusts me to stay here, and while one of you will not admit whose child it is, do not even try to return me." In the end, not only the marriage registration was spoiled, but the family relationship as well. This was not the kind of celebration Eugene wanted, and so as not to further inflame the situation, he went to a bridal salon. There he could safely stay in his office and rethink a lot of things. By that time, Regina had already left, and Alina was getting ready to close the store. But when she saw the director's car, she became alert. Her gut told her he was in trouble, and as soon as he entered, from his lips rushed out, "Well, urgently bring me the documents for the last consignment of goods, and immediately." The working day was not going to end, and the girl had to stay longer to prepare the required papers. Her feminine intuition led her to believe that the director needed to make delicious tea to calm her nerves. Alina was just holding a whole box of herbal tea. Quickly boiling the kettle, she filled the cups with it and added a loose mixture of mint, melissa, and oregano. Her grandmother used to do this when stressful situations arose. Alina remembered this and often made tea like this. Eugene was sitting in his office with his head bent over the table. Alina knocked softly and then, opening the door, put a tray with cups in front of him, and next to it put a folder of documents. The director did not even look at the papers and immediately shifted his gaze to the tea. "Are you for me? How nice of you." "Thank you, Allah." Making a gesture with her hand to attract attention, Alina said, "You mispronounced my name, although in your situation, it does not matter." Opening the notebook, which was lying on his desk, Eugenie guiltily muttered, "Excuse me, Alina. It was somehow automatically. I called you Allah for some reason. My sister has such a name, and why did I suddenly remember her? Ah, yes, she is probably the only person who did not reproach me and did not call me a traitor." Alina didn't quite understand his train of thought and asked a leading question. "Do you have any problems about the wedding?" Eugene looked at her with sad eyes and answered angrily, but to himself, "There will be no wedding. It's over, and so is my life, I guess." Next, the director was even more explicit and told her what had happened. "So, Alina, someone planted a baby girl in a basket, and now Victoria thinks the girl is from me, even though the note clearly stated my name. And what do you think my fiancée thought? That's right, she thought I was cheating on her." Wrinkling her forehead, as if the information concerned her personally, Alina suddenly said, "I want to see this baby, to visit the baby." Eugene shrugged his shoulders and distantly replied, "Well, I do not know the girl. I think was taken to the hospital, and there probably will be transferred to the shelter while they look for the mother. Why do you need this or not enough of your own worries?" Alina had rarely spoken to the director on frank topics before, but here she just burst out, "You see, my husband and I have been living together for 4 years, and still no children. And we've already applied to everyone, but still nothing works. So I thought, maybe this is my chance. The little girl is not to blame that her mother was a cuckoo." The director nodded in response, but then added, "The main thing is that your husband was not against this addition to the family." The girl shuddered slightly and almost whispered, "I do not know how he will react, but I will try to convince him." A few days passed and Alina was finally able to get a meeting with the baby. She had an acquaintance at the child welfare office who helped her get into the orphanage. The girl looked cheerful, for she had already received everything she needed. 2 pairs of eyes watched over her, young female employees. Holding the baby in her arms, Alina felt as if she had just been discharged from the maternity hospital, and she saw her own child in front of her. At the same minute, she finally formed a plan of further action in her head, telling her husband about everything. Her husband reacted differently than expected. He packed his things and left for his parents' house, and finally he said, "I do not need other people's children. I did not get together with you to bring up someone else." And only now Alina realized that her husband, all these years of married life, is loved only himself. Alina came to work in frustration. The director noticed this, and the first thing he asked, "Well, how the reaction of her husband are not happy. And I warned you that someone else's child will require some sacrifice and considerable preparation. And in my family, almost came to a divorce. Thank God my mother figured it all out. True, my father and I took tests for examination. The results will come soon, but I think that we are not connected with this child." After paying the right people, the director and his father soon got the results, and the baby really turned out to be someone else's child. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief, and on this wave made up. However, Eugene did not go to Victoria to bow. He decided that since she had made her choice that day, not letting him explain himself, there was nothing to try to establish relations with her. Equal changes, but not as bright, occurred in Alina's life. Her husband visited their apartment while she was at work and took away all the money that her wife had been saving for several years. The girl was left without savings, but she did not despair, because money is a useful thing. She applied for guardianship of the girl, whom in her mind she christened Nadezhda, and she got her approval. And while she was preparing the children's room, she came to the orphanage almost every day to spend all her free time with the little girl. Eugene paid attention to this and soon came to visit Alina himself. He gave her a bouquet of flowers, but he did not know what her husband had done yet. "I see you are slowly getting used to your new life. Maybe it's none of my business, but it's better for both parents to raise the child." Not catching the meaning of the hint, Alina categorically stated, "No, I do not want to have anything in common with my husband, who stole from me. We are already divorcing. I would like to find this traitor, so that he would come to the court." Eugene sat down on a chair and said, "Let me help you after all. This case somehow brought us closer, and I even began to treat you differently. Now she got the hint okay, but do not bother, because now Didma is out of this city, and it is unlikely he can be found. In response, Eugene kissed her hand and whispered, "Everything will be fine. You do the housework for now, and I give you a week off, and for the rest, you cannot worry." Alina did not believe that the director would solve her problems overnight. She got the baby's room ready, and soon she took the baby out of the orphanage. Just as they crossed the threshold together, her heart began to tingle inside. It was as if something was about to happen, and it had to happen. Eugenie arrived, and not alone, but with friends who guided her husband under her arms. He was more or less all right, but his look seemed so humiliated that even Alina could not stand it and spluttered her hands. But as soon as they got closer, Mitri angrily muttered, "You're a bitch, not your wife. Decided with your hubby goblins on me." After these words from Alina lost the last pity for him. "So you need not take what does not belong to you. I was saving for a car that later we could travel together on it, and you took, and the money embezzled. So when you dare call me that, that's the word you deserve, not me." Eugene shoved her ex-husband in the side, and he, with shaking hands, pulled out 2 bundles of money from his pocket. "Here, take it and choke on it. I don't want to know you anymore." He was immediately taken to the car, and what happened to him next, Alina does not know, and she did not want to go into these details. The main thing is that Mitri is punished, and from now on he will know that it is not good to steal. For joy, Alina invited Eugenie to visit them. "Why, there is enough room for all of them. Moreover, I make a delicious tea. You liked it that day at work, didn't you?" Nodding in response, the director kissed her hand again. "Thank you, Alina. The tea was just delicious. Yes, by the way, Victoria and I finally broke up, but that's just between us, and do not think that I said it on purpose." The girl understood perfectly. "Well, all right, then I'll see you at my place tonight, and don't make excuses. You don't have to do that." Eugene left the apartment and, getting into the car, waved to her, not hoping that the director would decide to meet in person. She nevertheless set the table, and her inner gut told her that it was tonight that her fate would be decided. At exactly 7 o'clock in the evening, the doorbell rang. Eugene and Alina began to meet in order to understand each other and check their feelings. Besides, they had to make a final decision about her ex-husband. A month later, she was officially divorced and was already free to establish a personal life. As for the baby girl whom Alina named Nadezhda, she had already got used to her new mother and new life. Eugene helped with furniture and with his own money made upgrades in the apartment, and all to be well, but soon the real mother of this child was found. At some point, all of Alina's hopes for a happy family almost collapsed, but this grief-stricken parent, realizing what she had done and what her prospects were, hastily wrote a disclaimer. No one else bothered Alina. She and Eugenie have applied to the registry office and are preparing for the wedding. Ahead of them awaits a happy family where there will be no lies, meanness, and betrayal.